All right, let's talk about how you can study so fast and so effectively that it honestly feels like you found a cheat code for your brain. And the best part? This isn't some kind of magic trick. It's all based on real science.
You know the feeling, right? You spend hours highlighting, you reread the same pages over and over, you pull an all-nighter convinced you've nailed it. Then, the moment you actually need to remember that information, poof, it's just gone. It is so frustrating, and trust me, you are not the only one.
Well, there's actually a name for that whole cycle of wasted effort. It's called the passive learning trap. It's that comfortable, familiar way of studying that, let's be honest, most of us were taught. And here's the kicker. It's also one of the least effective ways to actually get anything to stick long term.
So let's pull back the curtain and really expose this trap for what it is. We're going to look at why that highlighter you're holding, the one that makes you feel so productive, might actually be the biggest thing holding you back from real learning. Okay, so this pretty much frames the whole battle. On one side, you've got the passive monk. This is all about rereading, highlighting. It feels easy, comfortable. But the result? Super low retention. Then you have the active samurai. Constantly recalling, testing yourself. It feels hard. It feels like a struggle. But the payoff is ridiculously high retention.
So why do we fall for the monk's way? It's because of a tricky little cognitive bias called the illusion of fluency. See, when you reread a passage, your brain recognizes it and goes, "Oh yeah, I know this stuff." But here's the critical difference. Recognizing something is not the same as being able to recall it from scratch. You're mistaking familiarity for actual mastery, and that's the heart of the trap right there.
All right, enough about the problem. Let's talk about the solution. How do we become that active samurai? Well, the first, and I mean the most powerful weapon they have, is a technique called active recall.
To put it simply, active recall is the act of pulling information out of your brain. Instead of just letting information flow in while you read, you are forcing your brain to do the heavy lifting, to go find the answer and bring it forward. Think of it like a workout for your memory muscles.
And the method itself? It's so simple, it's brilliant. First, you study a concept for a bit. Then, and this part is absolutely crucial, you close the book, put it away. Then, from pure memory, you write or say everything you can remember. Only after you've squeezed your brain dry do you open the book again to check what you missed. That's the whole cycle.
And this right here is the whole point. That moment of struggle, that feeling of, oh, I know this, what was it again? That is not a sign that you're failing. That is the exact moment a stronger memory is being built. It's being forged in that effort. You have to learn to embrace that struggle.
Now, building that strong memory is really only half the battle. We also have to maintain it, right? And that brings us to the second core technique, which works perfectly with active recall. It's called spaced repetition.
This might sound a little weird, but our brains are literally designed to forget things. It's a survival feature, not a bug. It's a way to clear out all the useless information so we can focus on what's important. So the fact that you forget stuff doesn't mean your brain is broken. It just means we have to work with that feature.
And this chart shows that feature in action. It's called the forgetting curve, and it's brutal. If you don't do anything to remember what you learned, you can lose about half of it after just one day. After a week, you're lucky if you remember 20%. It's a crazy steep drop-off.
So spaced repetition is our counterattack. It's all about reviewing the information at the perfect moment, right as you're about to forget it. So you might test yourself again in a day, then in 3 days, then in a week. Each time you successfully recall it, you're hitting reset on that forgetting curve and telling your brain, hey, pay attention, this stuff is important, keep it.
So there we have it, our two secret weapons, active recall and spaced repetition. Now let's combine them into one seriously efficient study system.
It really is that simple. Think of it this way. Active recall is the blacksmith. It's the hard, sweating work of forging the sword, creating that strong memory in the first place. But any good sword needs to be maintained. Spaced repetition is the act of sharpening that blade over time, making sure it never gets rusty and is always ready when you need it.
So here's your new game plan. From now on, you're going to treat learning like a sparring session, not a boring lecture. You're going to test yourself constantly with active recall. You're going to review material at just the right time. And most importantly, you're going to embrace that feeling of struggle, because now you know it's the sign that you're actually learning something deeply.
Okay, so what's the final challenge here? It's really about a shift in your identity, from being someone who just passively consumes information to someone who truly masters it.
At the end of the day, all of this means you can get so much more done with way less time and a lot less frustration.
This was never about studying harder or pulling more all-nighters. It's about studying smarter and making the time you do spend count for so much more.
And that's really the question I want to leave you with. Imagine what you could do. A new language, a musical instrument, some really complex technical skill. When you can actually learn efficiently and make things stick, learning stops being a chore and it starts to feel like a superpower. So, what are you going to master first?